Okay, we are here. We're here with Bill Flowers right now. Ole Miss a 28-10 winner over Troy. I know some might not be that excited about that, but Bill was at the game. What were your impressions of this game?
I think their impressions of this game was that Ole Miss is going to be their philosophy is going to be running the ball first, establishing the run, and something that Ole Miss has not had. And I don't know. I mean, maybe the first year of or first second year of Houston Nutt era, but they established the run. Um, that defense looked pretty solid. We had the passing game is definitely a question mark, but um, it's going to be interesting to see how good that run game can be. That's kind of what I walked away from going, wow, this is going to be a different kind of Ole Miss team that they have not seen in a long time.
Yeah, and today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered with this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts, and also thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss postcast your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. I think it's interesting. Now, if Ole Miss wanted to, and Lane Kiffin talked about this after the game, they could have kept doing what they were doing in the first half. Jackson Dart would have had roughly the same numbers, and Ole Miss would have run for 420 yards, and that game would have been 42-3, and it would have looked completely different. But I'm not 100% sure the Ole Miss fan base is ready for defense and running the ball. I don't think they understand what's coming.
No, I think they are hoping that the the offense is going to open up and become a high flying offense like they're accustomed to seeing, but it's not. And quite frankly, um, I think in the SEC, if you're going to be a true contender, you're going to have to be able to control the line of scrimmage, and you're going to be able to have to run the ball, and that's something that Ole Miss has not been able to do consistently. So I think that if you if Ole Miss can open up that offense from the outside, our run game is going to put Ole Miss in a new category that they haven't been in a long time. And I think, this is something that Ole Miss might not like from a standpoint of it might not be as pretty as seeing that ball just, going down the air, going down the field. But it's definitely going to be run first, establish that run. Um, like, for example, today you saw Triggs. He's they don't have him lined up as a tight end. They have him lined up as an X receiver. I'm thinking, well, why don't you have him more inside to be able to hold the safeties? But it makes sense in a sense when you have this spread offense that you're keeping him outside because you're trying to keep a defender out of the box. So I understand that. So their whole philosophy is going to be this year on establishing the run, and rightly so because they have absolutely horses back there. I mean, you saw something that you haven't seen in a long time. They were electric in the backfield. And that was something that I was really excited to see because you've heard that their offensive line is solid, and you heard they had a really good backfield, and they absolutely showed that today.
Yeah, Zach Evans was obviously the horse today. He had 20 carries, 130 yards, a nice performance for Zach Evans. But one of the guys that we heard about all during camp was Quinshon Judkins, the true freshman out of Pike Road in Alabama. And that kid is going to be special. I
To
mentioned that
me,
the. Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Now, the last time I heard somebody talk so gushingly about a true freshman was when P. Willie got here and you guys were talking about him and saw him and coming through. Now, I'm not comparing this guy and saying he has a P. Willie ceiling, but the talk was definitely warranted.
Today, this cat, when he ran the ball, he ran with. It reminded me of a Cadillac Williams of just, I mean, just power. But he had this finesse about him, and he had this. I mean, he definitely to me, if you had to put Zach Evans, Bentley, And Judkins, I mean, I would have a hard time not saying that this Judkins kid, when he touched the ball, he was a force to be reckoned with. I mean, to me, when you told me he was an absolute true freshman, I was blown away because he did not look like that. He's got speed, he's got feet, he's got agility, and he's got power. He to me he was the most impressive because he was a straight down the field, go get yardage, not look for a little dancer. And he is a lightning bolt down the field, go get yards, running back.
Yeah. And the running backs is absolutely as advertised. Calling for targeting, it was like that all impressive for that defense.
Think they're playing. Sure, them being able to get pressure up was able to.
And there were some serious. There's athletes and so much speed on that defense.
That speed is that middle of good we can be, but they're not going to keep everybody at zero. Really good job from that standpoint. You are still, but like you said, some great. He's going to wake up tomorrow aggressive, and I was happy to see that.
Issues in the stream. Now, 7 months of talking up this quarterback situation. I thought Jackson Dart played really well. He forced one pass, one real bad decision. But as far as a game manager, if you look at him from the thing as like the baseline is Greg McElroy, I think Jackson Dart, he facilitated that running game.
Yeah, so again, beginning of the summer camp, we talked about it. We don't really know what the quarterback's going to hold. We knew they had a good run game. You knew they're going to establish the run. You're hoping that they have a tight end that can really hold the middle of the field. And I think this is a good analogy for people that don't really understand the value of a great tight end and why the value of a great tight end from keeping him inside, not flanking them out. If you look at Jackson with the Ravens, he has the least amount of money at receiver, but they've put all their money at tight end. And what they've done is they have two tight ends, they keep them close, and they run them down the middle. Now, to me, where I was hoping that it's going to help Jackson Dart or Altmaier is that if you keep them inside, you give the quarterback a much easier throw. So today, when you saw Jackson Dart make his throws were not in the middle of the field. His throws were not really easy throws. Most of them were outside. He got one picked. It was down the middle. And so it makes it harder for them. And that's why I was hoping that Triggs was going to be a player that they could line inside and give him some relief. But I don't really know how to judge what Dart's going to be, because I felt like, we they did not do well in the passing game. They just didn't. I would not give them. I would give it a C, maybe C minus. I think the play calling, they did not attack the middle of the field, and when they did, it was a that. So the interception, what happened was I think it was a cover two, but it was you had a nickel back that was in the slot. He rotated, and when he rotated into a cover three, Jackson Dart didn't see him rotate, and so when he rotated, that's why he threw that pick. And so that was Dart truly looking where he was going to throw. He never looked anywhere else. This is his first game, and I think you got to give him some slack. But I don't think that with what we heard in camp, you did not see Dart becoming head and shoulders above Luke Altmaier. And like I said, in this transfer portal world, Luke Altmaier has no chance unless he is head and shoulders above Jackson Dart, because because Dart is going to get every opportunity because he's a transfer, and Kiffin's going to want to make sure that he keeps a good rapport, that when you come here and you transfer, you're going to get you're going to get the top shot to play. And so I'm not as optimistic about it. I felt like it might not be Jackson Dart. It might be the receivers. I just didn't feel like they didn't make great separation. They didn't get open. You didn't see a lot of just big play opportunities out there that were just missed. And again, you're playing against Troy, so this is what concerned me about last year. I felt like Jeff Gebby, with him being an offensive coordinator, it was sort of everything's going to be outside. We're not really attacking the middle of the field, and so that's going to be very concerning to me, because unless you have a guy that's just got a massive cannon and is very accurate, trying to make all the throws down the field on the outside, dude, that's hard. That's not easy. And again, there's a reason why the Ravens spend so much money with trying to keep the middle of the field closed off, so that their quarterback has if he's going to throw down on the outside to his receivers, he has an easier chance. It's just the way that it is. So that's my concern for the season going forward, is that if you put 8 men in the box and say you're going to beat us through the air, Kiffin, can we do it? That's going to be the tale. So that's my biggest concern.
Okay. Yeah, just 1 second. Mike Espy is about to come in and join us on the show. So that should be good as well. But you're absolutely right, Bill. Hey, Mike, can you turn your camera to the side? Yeah, the horizontal. There we go. Mike Espy joining the show as promised. We got like the receiving class of like 2004 coming in right now.
One of the best ever.
Yeah. Bill was just explaining how the tight end usage in this offense is going to affect the quarterbacks moving forward. What did you see from the wide receiver and the tight end position today?
I mean, first and foremost, I saw really like a bland offense from the standpoint. We all know that they have many more plays, many more nuances to the offense that they do. But I think that they wanted to come out, run basic plays, kind of get things under their belt, get comfortable. There still needs to be the relationship between the quarterback and the wide receiver that they have to really sync up, as well as the tight end. So I think I saw that. We saw Ole Miss come out, and we're used to scoring from far and big plays all over the field. We're all used to that. But I think we have to give it time. We have to give them time to mesh, to gel. Look, that offense is from the skill position. I mean, let's think about it. Mingo is a returner, and who else do we have returning from a skill position standpoint?
I think that might be it.
But the Jackson kid, number 5, isn't that he was the receiver for last year that was behind, that had some plays last year. But Mike, the concerning thing is, and I think you'll agree with me, is you saw Ole Miss try their best to create a conducive rhythm, and they could not do it. If you can't do that against Troy, when you are essentially admitting that you abandoned your run and you did everything you could just to try to create some consistent throws, and you could not do it, that's very concerning, whether that's against Alabama or against Troy.
Well, for sure. I mean, I'd agree if you can't go out and execute to your best ability against Troy, like, it's not going to happen, honestly, against anybody else on the schedule. But, to your point, I think Jackson Dart, he was forcing throws. Um, and you're right. I think they did abandon the run when the run was actually, in my opinion, doing pretty well. But I think he was trying to take shot plays. That interception down in the end zone, they were trying to hit flash. If you really look back at the play, Dart forced that. He didn't take what they gave him because the running back was running the swing route, was wide open. He would have bumped his head on the goalpost. So I think, in my opinion, I think it's the first game. They did try. It made a concerted effort to make throws, and there were times when they couldn't. At the same time, I'm going to go back to saying, look, they're meshing, they're gelling.
Yeah.
Thankfully, well, we really only have one more game, honestly, because Georgia Tech is not a pushover. So we really have one more game to kind of correct a lot of those things. Hopefully they'll come out next week and be better.
Yeah, if you look at it, basically after the Troy game, Troy is a good.
For me, the biggest.
I think Bill's freezing up on us. Anyway,
the biggest.
Go ahead, Bill.
The biggest disappointment for me was, again, being a receiver, is the tight end. I wanted to see more of our tight end close and taking down the middle of the field. Now, Mike, do you not agree that asking our quarterbacks to throw outside throws down the field is much harder than attacking the middle of the field, and a great tight end is the quarterback's best friend. But when 100%. you take that tight end and you extend him outside, you have to be a really, 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 really talented quarterback to be able to hit throws consistently outside. You're throwing a 20-yard throw that's down the field. You're not talking about, now let's add from under center. So you're taking a 40 to 50-yard throw, and it better be on the dime. So again, to me, that's the biggest concern that I have, is that we will not utilize our tight end, if we have one, near the line of scrimmage to maximize the middle of the field to open up our throw. That's you mark it. If we cannot have a tight end that can hold the middle of the field, we are not going to be a successful passing team.
Look, man. I'm sorry.
Part of this to me is Jalen Robinson Flash. They tried to get him involved, and God bless him, he just didn't have the best day. Just weird things happened to him a little bit, and I think he got into his head a little bit, and that kind of affected the middle of the field for this passing offense, because I think Flash was going to be a big part of what they wanted to do.
Look, Bill, I agree with you 100%. You got to attack the middle of the field, whether it's down the middle seam route or whether it's just running pretty basics down the middle of the field. You got to attack it, because that'll open up everything else on the outside. So I agree with you. We didn't see a lot of that. I think that Trigg has the ability to do that. Flash certainly has the ability to do that. To your point, Steve, yeah, he had that punt return. I talked to him after the game, and look, as a punt returner, man, it's people are gonna be like, why did he do that? Look, man, you're a first punt return in the SEC. They tell you, put your heels on the 10 and don't back up. But Bill will tell you that I was probably really a hard-head at that, because when that ball was coming in the air, man, you really ultimately believe in what you could do, and you wanted that ball in your hand. I think when he did that, thank God that he fell in the end zone, if he did even fall in the end zone. Like, thank goodness. But, and then I think that he ran some seam routes. That's when Dart forced the throw. The safety was on the boundary side of the field, kind of disguising. He was in cover one.
Yep.
And he dropped back, and Dart, I'm pretty sure when they go to the film room, Dart's going to say, I didn't see him. Well,
yeah, he didn't.
Look, listen, you're the SEC quarterback. You got to see that. You
exactly.
Gotta see that. Period. Otherwise, man. Otherwise, if we're in trouble, but they're gonna watch the film and correct it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Bill.
But that is where having that tight end down the middle is going to also keep your defenses from trying to disguise things, because when you're rotating like that, you're not really worried. You don't have anything down the middle, so everything they were doing was, okay, let's try to get everything down. Let's try to get everything outside. If they run something in, down the middle, we have it kind of covered. Down deep, it's deep. Everything's deep. Nothing's underneath. And so, again, I beat that dead horse. If you want your quarterback to feel comfortable and to be at ease, you better make sure that he's not having to worry about is this guy gonna jump this? Is this guy gonna jump that? I think it's the offensive coordinator's job to make his job easier, and so that's my concern. So I put that on Jackson, but I also put it on the coaches for not trying to make it a little bit easier on him.
Hey, to your point on that interception, I don't know. I think it was Trigg. He was in the boundary side, and he kind of ran like a whip route. He ran like a whip route, which was a 5-yard pass, and but he had somebody over top of him. The safety was sitting over top of him, rotating. He saw that, and then he kept on coming because they ran that play earlier. They must have recognized it, pretty much baited them into running that play again, set up the interception. But what I'm saying is, Trigg, if I was an offensive coordinator, listen, I'm not an offensive coordinator for Ole Miss, not even pretending to be. They have great minds. But you got to threaten that safety, period. You got to threaten that safety. Otherwise, he's going to do that all day.
Yeah, whenever you play against the defense and you can't threaten them down the field, that safety is going to squeeze down. It's going to play at 12. It's going to play then 11, and then it's going to condense everything to where we're trying to run RPOs and there's no space to run them in the middle of the field. And then the coaches obviously got scared to call that because of the threat of turnovers. Because I tell people all the time, Jackson Dart, whenever you see Matt Corral in 2021, Jackson Dart is Matt Corral in 2019 and Matt Corral in 2018. There's a lot for that kid to learn. Same for Luke Altmaier. And there's going to be growing pains this year. And thank goodness they had the foresight, honestly, to get this running game and put this together. Because, I mean, Mike, you weren't in here when we talked about that. That running game is something else, man.
Yeah, man. Listen, that running game, those backs are special. Those backs are special. What's number 4's name?
Quinshon Judkins, true freshman.
Now listen, clearly, obviously, Zach Evans is the real deal. But that kid, you know how Bill said, mark it up, remember it? That kid is going to be the truth, like period. Like so that running game. I actually, we've had great running games last year, and all that kind of stuff, but I don't think it's been that of a presence this early in the year.
No, that's what I said was you could tell this is a special offense because the offensive line is mature, they're old men, they know how to work, and you've got a great backfield, and I was at the game and Bentley, I was shocked at how small he is. Like, he is not a big guy. So being able to have 3 different kind of backs that can just tote the ball with speed and power, that's what's going to allow, if Ole Miss can get the passing game going, that run game is going to allow them to become another tier in the SEC that we haven't been able to be in a long, long, long time, because you're going to have to establish the run first and foremost if you're going to play in the SEC, and that's going to allow our defense to be able to really hang in there and pin the ears back and keep us in a game. So, that run game, that's why I said, Mike, that number 4, I didn't know he was a true freshman. I mean, when he ran the ball, he was like a lightning bolt. He He wasn't side to side. He was down the field, making
Yep.
moves, but going down the field. That's what was so impressive to me.
So just imagine the offense with that backfield, and then all those receivers and the quarterback. They're just because listen, I'm gonna say it. Obviously, I think that this is one of the better wide receiving cores in the SEC. Once it's all said and done, I'm not talking about today. I'm talking about once it's all said and done. I think they're special, but they got to go out and do better than they did today. But it's the first game.
Yeah, real quick, are you one of those people who thinks it's okay to drive stoned? What's the worst that can happen? You end up driving below the speed limit. It's no big deal, right? Wrong? The truth is your reaction times slow way down when you're high. It not only puts yourself in danger, but everyone else around you. Talk about a buzzkill. Stop kidding yourself. It's not okay to drive high. If you've been using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high and get a DUI. Sorry, that's a reader that I had to do.
I wanted to make sure you weren't asking that to me personally. I was like,
yeah. I was not.
I
That
was
was
like, I was like, what's going on?
present company excluded here. I have to do that. The Locked On makes me do that. So,
Don't drive high.
yeah, the good thing about this schedule, and we talked about this all during the offseason. I've had Bill on a few times, and we started to talk about the build that can happen. And this was a good first game because Troy is good enough to make you work for it. It makes camp something you can look forward to. It's something that, like, unlike Central Arkansas being the first game, you actually can look at Troy. But after that, you have Central Arkansas, and then you step up to Georgia Tech, and then you step up to Tulsa, and then the big boy football starts. What do you think we need to see in the next couple of weeks, Mike?
I think they got to go look at the film and the like he's saying. I actually think from a coaching standpoint, they need to look back and say, okay, what plays did we call? Why did we call them? And then make adjustments off of that. Because listen, the kids have the talent, they do, but you got to put them in the best position to succeed. I think that part of the issue was at one point they were moving so fast, which I think is very good for this offense. They want to make that their identity, but at the same time, this is your first game. You're not really clicking on all cylinders. I personally would have liked to have seen them dial it back a little bit because it was that speed at which they were going, that rate at which they were going, and the plays were coming in like that. And I don't know if Troy was really being dissected like you would expect that of an SEC offensive coordinator.
No.
So here's a question that I'll ask you. Do you think Lane Kiffin will give Luke Altmaier a true opportunity to fight for that job?
You put me on the spot. No.
So the question is going to be, can Jackson Dart create continuity with that team to feel good? You couldn't do it against Troy. So your coaching staff didn't call the right plays, or you just you just couldn't connect. So that's gonna be a question.
Well, here's the thing, Bill. Now that you have started Jackson Dart, me personally, I would have done it the other way, but that's just me. But now that you started Jackson Dart, it's kind of like you have to live with that decision. I mean, what are you gonna do? You're gonna be like Jim Harbaugh right now, and I think he started one quarterback the first game, and he said the other quarterback's gonna start the second game, and they're gonna make their decision the third game based off of the first two. I mean, what is he gonna do that? I think that I would have liked to have seen Luke start from the perspective of this was your QB coming in last year. This is you recruited him for this. Okay. Now let's give him a true opportunity to shine. And if he does not succeed, and if you wanted to throw Dart in the whole time, now you have given a reasonable excuse or a reasonable explanation for just starting Dart. That's what I would have done. But hey.
Well, I'll say this. Last year, I saw Kiffin do everything he possibly could to keep John Plumlee out of playmaking opportunities, in my opinion. And that was a decision that he made, and he was going to stick with it. And I think when he makes his mind up that something's going to be done, he is going to stick with it. I think he has made his mind up that Dart through the transfer portal, he wants to make sure that his transfer portal guys look good, that they're going to get every opportunity, because he's a transfer portal king. This is how Ole Miss is going to move forward. They're not going to be able to outpay NIL stuff, so they're going to have to get their guys through the portal. And so that is a concern for me, is how far down the road is it going to be before Jackson Dart either connects and gets on rhythm, or he cuts his nose off to spite his face and says, okay, Luke, you're gonna have to get this. So that's gonna be interesting. And you look at Plumlee, look what he did. I mean,
yeah, he went off.
He went off. And don't tell me that kid couldn't have been more of a player for us on the offense last year as a receiver. I mean, you could have put him in the backfield. You could have done so many different things to make him an asset to that game, but he cut his nose off to spite his face to keep the crowd from demanding Plumlee being in the game. So you look at, I mean, I'm just telling you, I think that's going to be a question mark, is how far is he going to allow Luke Altmaier to sit on that bench if Dart can't get things done. Now, again, I don't think it's so much Dart. I think it's the play calling. That's my concern. I don't think it's so much Dart. I think it's more of the lack of play calling, putting the players in the right position, and making more of the middle of the field throws.
Well, I'm going to just say this, and clearly I'm not going to say any names, period. But I think that what you just said, Bill, as far as the play calling and all that kind of stuff, I heard that from people who were running the plays. And that's where I got the whole speed at which they were running the plays kind of was a deterrent for some plays getting in and other plays being called. You know, I think that if I'm just being honest, I think that they kind of looked at Troy as like, man, we could do whatever, whenever we want to do, as opposed to looking at them and respecting them to a degree, and then dialing it up and dissecting them up. I bet you we get in the SEC play, the play calling will be significantly different. At least
it wasn't last year. It wasn't last year. They never. Everything was the same play calling last year. They never took the middle of the field. They never attacked. They never, we didn't have a really, dynamic tight end. Now, do we have that? We didn't line them up inside. We kept them outside. So that's going to be the question.
Yeah.
Now I have a question for you guys real quick. Do you think that Luke Altmaier is going to start next week just because Lane Kiffin wants to do him a solid and get him some film for the portal?
Let's not talk about Luke in the portal.
Okay.
Luke is not going in the portal.
But I do not think. I would be shocked if he starts next week. Again, Kiffin wants to make sure that Jackson Dart, a 5-star, top recruited transfer portal player, gets every opportunity to create rhythm and create continuity with the team. And I just think that I'd be shocked if Altmaier he didn't get into the fourth quarter in the middle of the fourth quarter.
Right.
So why would he start him?
I mean, look, Bill, to your point, it's almost like, man, you have to start Dart in this game. Mm-hmm. You have to. Otherwise, you're kind of like starting from square zero. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to have Dart come in.
He made his choice. The first game. And
right. You got to build that continuity.
exactly, and he did not put Luke in until the middle of the fourth quarter.
What
Yeah,
would
so
you what
I think Dart starting next week. I think Luke will play more, but you better believe Dart's gonna play. Dart's gonna be in the whole first half, regardless of what's going on. Period.
do you think he made a mistake with the way he did the quarterbacks today, Mike?
Look,
Well, not
I'm not.
judging anything, but what would you have
I
done?
mean, like, look at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it's his team. He makes his decision one way or the other. And when he makes it, he's like what we're saying, he's got to stand behind it, period. Me personally, I would have done it the other way around. I'm not going to say it's a mistake because we got a couple different ways of looking at it. I don't know what he's seeing. Like, I'm not in the meeting rooms with him. I'm not watching the practices and all that kind of stuff. I do think that he came in, like Bill said, as a 5-star transfer portal guy. And it's like, okay, what are you going to do? You can have this 5-star transfer portal guy come in and he doesn't play, he doesn't
Hmm.
start. No. And then so I don't know what the thought process is. I don't necessarily think it was a mistake. I would have done it differently. But like let's I hope that it works. I hope that it works out.
Bill, any fear of this year at the quarterback position turning into 2004?
Oh, no, do not. Oh my God.
No, it's not because I mean no, it's not. Listen, for the record,
Yeah.
if Lane Kiffin hears this, and if Jackson Dart and Luke Altmaier hear this, I mean, listen, Kiffin's one is an amazing coach, has an amazing recruiter. Altmaier has got great talent. Dart's got great talent, but if you can't put the players in the right spot to help them, then that's on the coaches. If you again look at Jackson with the Ravens. There's a reason. Again, I'm telling you, they put all. Yes, he's the most dynamic player in the NFL and can run. Easier for his deep outside throws. Your post, your bow down the middle of the field. If you want short, you're unfair.
Hey, I'm gonna say y'all guys versus your guys.
They possibly could.
Very Malik eyes went to the would have he needs to be an expansion. Some reads were made. The offense will perform a lot better, but the middle of the field needs to be attacked.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're just sitting here talking and overreacting to an end of the game, just like everybody always does. Lane
That's what we
Kiffin's the
do. That's
guy.
what
The
we're
core.
supposed
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah. That's what we're supposed to do. So there's nothing negative
Trying
intended.
to get you ratings.
Yeah. Yeah. We need some controversy on here. Anyway, give me a couple players, Bill, of the game that stood out to you.
Well, obviously, number 4 running back. To me, he was dynamic. Zach Evans, Bentley, they looked solid. Pugh from the inside, he did a great job. So from an offensive standpoint, the running backs, they did a great job. I was really pleased to see their success today. Even though it was Troy, you saw that offense is going to be heavy ridden with the run.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Mike?
I'm on second Bill. The running backs, man. That listen, Zach Evans is the real deal, but I'm telling you, number 4, he's gonna be something to deal with for years to come. And you know what? Yeah, listen. I have to say Mingo, and I'm gonna say Malik. Look, they didn't get a lot of opportunities downfield, but man, for Malik to come in and got his first touchdown in his first game. On the touchdown, he ran a bang 8 or a glance. It's a post where you take a more flat angle at the top. They ran that play 2 plays in a row. All right, the play before he was wide open, and I thought he was going to get it. Well, I'm not going to say what they say when they say run it again, but they were saying that what they say run it again, run it again, run it again, and then he ran a crisp route and scored. To see a guy transfer from Mississippi State to Ole Miss and to know the work that man has put in, period, and going against what people say about him, all that kind of stuff. It's beautiful to see, and man, I just hope that these guys all stay together and continue to have success.
Yeah, my players would be Khari Coleman, JJ Pegues, and Jared Ivey. All three of those guys got just 4 sacks combined, 7 or 8 tackles for loss today. Really standouts on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah,
now,
I said JJ Pegues. Sorry, I said Pew. JJ Pegues.
Yeah, his hit on the Troy quarterback, I had flashbacks of 2008 and those Land Sharks going in the Mississippi State quarterback. That's what that hit reminded me of, like Gerald Poe or Jerry or whatever, just killing Tyson Lee, and it's like I hope he's okay. Anyway, going into UCA, Central Arkansas, it's an FCS game. You guys have history with FCS teams. What needs to be accomplished between week 1 and week 2? Mike.
Well, they need to go look at the film, make the adjustments, like we're saying. But I actually think, like I said before, from a play caller standpoint, listen, film is obviously for the players, but it's more so, it's just as much and more for the coaches as well. I'd look and doc that and say, man, how many times did we try to hit the middle of the field? How many times did we run this play versus that play? So they got to go look at that, obviously look at what UCA is doing, and have better play calling, right? If I'm a receiver, man, bottom line, you got to go in, adjust, get better, period. I'm sorry, I got thrown out by all the
it's all good, Mike.
blenders going at Starbucks. I'm good. Go ahead, Bill.
No, I second you. I think it's just as important for the coaches to see the film. I think it's them understanding how they can help their players make the better reads, understand this is what we called, this is what we was not executed, how can we get better? And I think the biggest thing for us as a team is going to be creating continuity with the receivers and the quarterback, and whatever that takes, they need to get that, because your offensive run game is there. What you don't have is your passing game. So whatever it takes, you make sure that you get there and watch film, make sure that you can create some excitement against UCA. If you can't do that next week, then there's some major concerns.
Yeah. And it ramps up from here. You got UCA and then Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech is a little bit worse than Tulsa. I think Tulsa is our best non-conference game. But going up into that Kentucky game, it's all building towards there. Now, before we get out of here real quick, I do want to say thank you to both of you guys for stopping by and talking a little football. How do you see – did you see today a team that could progress to the end of the season, like make a big jump to the end of the season to where we could be looking at something kind of special for what they can do? I mean – I've said all year that this team had a floor of 5-7, but it has a ceiling of 10-2. Is 10-2 reachable according to you? Go ahead, Bill.
I think it does if you can incorporate your receivers and your quarterback. You saw that you have a special run game, and that itself is going to create you wins. Your defense looked like they could really, hold their own. But again, I am not going. Troy had some runs up the middle. We still run a three-man front. But I think absolutely our team defensively flew around, made some big plays, thumped the ball. But if you're going to get above 8 wins, you are going to have some games where your team says, we are going to beat you through the air, and we are going to throw for 350, 400 yards. If you can't do that, then I think 8-4 is going to be our record, and it's going to be all through the ground.
I think that we saw some fundamental things with this team that will make this team very good, i.e. the run game, and the defense playing very well besides some of those runs down the middle. Like Bill said, me personally, I think it's the quarterback position. Okay, it all hinges on the quarterback position. If the quarterback the team is going to go where the quarterback goes. All right, so if Jackson Dart, if that's our guy, if he progresses, then I think we could, with the run game, with the way the defense is playing, and obviously the receivers need to step up and the play caller got to step up. I think that we can see a 10-2 season. I think that if the quarterback play does not step up and none of those things happen, then, man, we're looking at a very disappointing season.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, go check out the Ultimate Pro Football Preview of 2022. It's an 8-episode extravaganza to get you ready for the NFL season. The local team experts have Locked On their podcast network, plus a betting angle from Lee Sterling of Locked On Bets, all combining onto one Ultimate NFL Preview. Search for Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022 on your Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. Mike, Bill, thank you so much for stopping by tonight. Mike, be safe going back to Jackson, and I think Bill, be safe going back to Alabama. I mean, I guess you could follow the Troy bus.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you guys very much, and hopefully we can do this again this year, man.
Yes, sir.
Thank y'all. See you,
right,
Billy.
Bye-bye.